And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by Hail Mary Sports Bar. We are live in the Cincy Light Studios right here on BearcatJournal.com. Tournament time. Everybody likes to get together, watch the games. You know where you can do that? Hail Marys. 27 TVs, 9-screen video wall. Not a bad seat in the house. They have every sports package DirecTV offers, and they will have tournament games on the video wall. They're located in Cheviot. They're on Harrison Avenue, so you can walk from bar to bar with your drinks in the Dora District. Just hang out at Hail Mary's, though. They got a brand new walk-in cooler, brand new draft lines, and not only do they pour the coldest Cincy Light around, they do so in 32.8-degree frosted glasses. All right, Aaron, we have this is our first Big 12 coaching move of the offseason, right? Tad Boyle. Utah. Utah moved on from Craig Smith a couple weeks ago. They bring in it is funny watching them in Utah or BYU, that dynamic. BYU goes out and hires an NBA assistant. Utah goes out and hires an NBA assistant. Like that dynamic is fascinating to me.
It was always very strange to me when Craig Smith was at Utah. That was my dad's name. And that was just always very strange hearing that name over and over and over again. I'm not going to miss that. I'm just not going to miss that. It was just strange.
Smith also, isn't that the founder of the Mormon Church? Last name Smith?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. But he wasn't Mormon, I don't think. I don't know. Utah's weird. It's like half Mormon, half not, or a portion Mormon, a portion not. But BYU obviously is the Mormon school. Like that whole dynamic between those two. Like you think UC Xavier is weird. That's a weird dynamic between Utah and BYU. But I digress.
Well, yeah.
I
don't want to get in the weeds on that one.
Yeah, I don't want to either. I'm not gonna we'll just leave it at that it's a weird dynamic.
Yep.
West Virginia, now former West Virginia coach Darren DeVries has taken the job in Indiana after 1 year leading the Mountaineers. I get it. It's a step-up job. I don't know. He seems like a pretty mild-mannered dude, just from like press conferences and like watching him with his team. That is a pressure cooker at Indiana.
Yeah.
He is a guy that plays slow, focuses on defense. Like that is not something that is going to excite a fan base per se. I don't know what connections he has to Indiana and that recruiting world, but he is who they landed on. It is also another great sign, Aaron, in today's college basketball world. Watch these blue blood programs, or, Indiana's, I don't know if they're still considered a blue blood, but they're one of the biggest names in the sport.
Sure.
And they ended at Darren DeVries. They probably had 8 to 10 guys on the top of his list. On top of him on this list.
I'm old enough to remember Sean Miller's name being mentioned as a potential candidate for the job just, 2 months ago?
So be careful what you ask for, because the names that you're bantering about that might take your job, they probably won't. And you're probably going to have to drop down your list to get to somebody that is ready to take it. So just a warning. It happened to Kentucky last offseason. Yeah. I think Mark Pope is a great coach. You know how many NCAA tournament games Mark Pope has won, Aaron?
I don't.
0. Weird. Kentucky hired a guy now he's one of theirs. I get it.
He is.
I think Mark Pope is a great coach. He has not won an NCAA tournament game and got hired at Kentucky because they couldn't get the guys at the top of their list to replace John Calipari. So just another cautionary tale. Like if you go back and look at Hotboard 1.0 on Peegs.com, if Darren DeVries was on it, he was way down at the bottom.
Now, did his son already enter the transfer portal with a do not contact?
It's been talked about that he's expected to accompany him to Bloomington.
Now he fits the Bloomington model.
Sure. He's a really good player. He also played 8 games, cashed his $1 million NIL check, and apparently cost them their spot in the NCAA tournament because they were penalized for not having him.
Did you see that West Virginia is actually contemplating legal action against the NCAA?
Yeah.
Well, the NCAA doesn't win in court.
I think they would win that one. But I think it's funny. It is funny.
I just want to see somebody call the committee to the stand and have to talk about where the North Carolina representative went during the vote for North Carolina. Standing right outside the glass windows, hearing.
You're hung up on that.
Yep.
There is a Cincinnati side to this, and this is what people don't want to hear, and I'll get blasted for saying this. But West Virginia did not protect itself. They created a situation where the buyout was low enough that Indiana was willing to pay it, and Indiana took their coach, their 1-year head coach. So not only has West Virginia dealt with the fallout of Bob Huggins and all of that mess,
whoop,
and then hired somebody that they thought was going to be there for a while, so they didn't protect themselves with a big buyout. Now, 3rd year in a row, they're dealing with chaos. And they had an interim coach 2 years ago that they let go. They hired DeVries. Now they're looking for another coach. So, including Bob Huggins, this is going to be 4 coaches in 4 years. Cincinnati wasn't in too dissimilar of a situation. Mick Cronin had left. John Brandon got fired. Wes Miller was hired. And then Cincinnati changed conference affiliation.
That's the big difference.
Yes. So they went back and said, we need some stability going into the Big 12. We do not need to be in a position where our coach leaves. And Wes Miller had people inquiring about him after his first season at Cincinnati. So they began working on a contract extension. I know everybody gets hung. Go ahead. Sorry.
You also couldn't find yourself in a situation where you have the only head coach not making anywhere near everybody else in the entire conference. It just doesn't make sense.
No. I get it. The optics, because it hasn't worked the way that people wanted it to work. Everybody's frustrated with the buyout. And I get that. Like that's understandable from a fan perspective. But from an athletic director and a university perspective, you think you found the guy, you change conferences, you do not want to have to, we went 5 years in a row where they turned over more than half of the roster, like 60, 70% of the roster every year. They were searching for stability. And you have to there's give and take in contract negotiations. If you want to ensure that Wes Miller's not going to take another job and leave you searching for a new coach before you get your first full payout in the Big 12, you're going to have to make some concessions to get him to agree to that. He's going to get a raise. His buyout is going to go up if you fire him, and the buyout is going to go up for somebody to take him from you. That's just how this works.
I know they're not a basketball school, and I know people don't like when we bring up UCF, but there is some comparison here as well, because they did the same thing with Johnny Dawkins, and I can't imagine that there was a very large market for people trying to poach Johnny Dawkins away from UCF, especially since they have also experienced not a ton of success under Johnny Dawkins, but they move into the new conference, and he also has to get paid like he is a Big 12 coach, because otherwise who are you going to bring in when you're out here not paying your coaches? You put yourself in a bad position saying, well, he was already under contract, so we just left well enough alone. It's a bad look.
So it didn't work out perfectly, and Wes is going to have another year to figure this out. And if it doesn't work out this year, I would say odds increase significantly. I'm not going to throw myself in front of the bus and say if it doesn't end in the NCAA tournament next year, he's going to get fired, because we don't know that. I don't have that information to report that for sure. I think it's far more likely than it was to happen this year, if it happens again next year, that they don't make the tournament. But there's no guarantee of that. I'm not putting my name behind that, because it will be used against me if he doesn't get fired next year, if they don't meet expectations. So, but the point being, West Virginia didn't protect itself. And guess what? He had to turn down the Iowa job to take the Indiana job, because Iowa wanted him too. Iowa was going to pay that buyout.
That was, 2 days ago, his name was attached to everything Iowa. Yeah. And Indiana came out of nowhere yesterday.
So I get why people, again, everybody's mad. And when you're mad at everything. And it hasn't worked yet. And I understand that. And I understand the frustration of wanting to get this program back to where people think it belongs. And really, that's just in the tournament with far more often than not. And they haven't gotten there yet. So I get the anger. But from an athletic director perspective, from an internal perspective, this is what they were trying to guard against. Is West does have a good year and get things rolling. If he had in the last year of the American or the first year of the Big 12, if he had gotten things rolling, somebody was going to come and try to poach him if he still had an AAC level contract. And that's what Cincinnati was protecting against, because now West Virginia, they thought, we found our guy. He came in, he built a new roster in 1 year, got us on the cusp of the tournament. We're going to roll with this guy. We're going to have this guy around to build our program for a while. But they didn't protect themselves. And now you got to go back out into that market and try to find somebody again to win in one of the best leagues in America that has never done it before, probably. Because they're probably not going to get a sitting high major head coach.
Be a tough sell, truthfully, because you have to rebuild the entire program again. Who's left? You've already seen names leaking out from West Virginia. I think Javon Small's done, right?
So, if the 5-for-5 thing goes through at some point, he would have an extra year, but he has played 4 years of college basketball.
If he stays there.
Right. Why would he? He didn't stay at Oklahoma State because that coach left. Why would he stay at West Virginia? Because that coach left.
Oklahoma State didn't leave. He was asked to leave.
I don't know that that's fully the case.
Oklahoma State, his coach?
The coach was fired at Oklahoma State.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. He didn't leave on his own accord. Yes.
You could have stayed and made a bunch of money and been the number one guy at Oklahoma State for the new coach. I don't think a new coach would have came in and said, we got to get this Javon Small guy out of here. He's too good.
No.
So that's my point. I can't imagine he comes back. It'll be interesting.
I don't want to see him anywhere else in the Big 12.
Yeah. Jared Calhoun is a name that comes up. Ben McCullum at Drake is a name that comes up. Will Wade.
That's not a name I want to see at West Virginia.
Yeah, he'd win there. He's a good coach. He's a bad person. Good coach. He would win there.
Strong ass offers.
He gonna make some strong ass offers if he can get the gas station guy back in on the train.
You think
they'll be fine.
You think he is not capable of talking the little general guy back?
Potentially. I don't know that DeVries had full buy-in. That guy and Huggins were best friends. Huggins would show up at AAU events with the son of that guy. And we're talking, he looked like he could be the mascot. 300 pounds, giant beard, just sitting next to Bob on, like, in AAU tournaments, you always see those row of coaches, like the shot. Oh, look, it's here's Roy Williams, like sitting in the little chairs. Bob would always have this big 300-pound hillbilly sitting next to him because he'd fly on their plane to the AAU events, and the son just wanted to go. It was hilarious.
Something tells me Will Wade would make him a strong ass offer.
Something like that. But yeah, sucks to be West Virginia right now, because that is especially hiring a football coach and a basketball coach in the same cycle, same calendar year, essentially.
Rich Rod is an old flame.
Yeah, I mean, like one of those, like he's already on the body count, so he doesn't, like, if you go back to it, it doesn't count. That's the nightcap, brought to you by Hail Mary Sports Bar, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!